Before I get into this, I'm going to have to talk about the SKS a little bit first, but again, the RCMP never ceases to amaze me on some of the stuff they come up with. Oh boy, and yeah, they will be bringing in the AK-47 in on this one a little bit. Okay, so the SKS is a non-restricted firearm here in Canada, meaning with a regular firearm safety course and a possession acquisition license and a background check, you can buy one of these things as a non-restricted rifle in Canada. Now, however, over here in Quebec, a buddy of mine bought one, and he got a letter in the mail from the Sauté de Quebec on behalf of the RCMP saying that you couldn't hunt with it because the action was too fast. I saw the letter. I'm in disbelief of it, but this is the kind of mentality that you get with these people. Now, in Namano, British Columbia, this comes out of the, I read it the other day, Namano's Daily News, okay? Now, Namano RCMP discovers Soviet assault weapons. Here we go. And before I read this, I don't know what video I said it in. It was a good while ago, and I said, look, they're going to be coming after every single type of rifle that's they're going for a total gun ban is what they're. It's incremental. We've seen it in Australia. We've seen it in the UK. We've seen, even though they can own some firearms over there, the list is getting smaller and smaller. This is a long-term plan. This isn't ban overnight. However, with the RCMP, it is kind of a bit of a ban overnight because they're under the crunch of having the long gun registry, which was supposed to be gone, which is not gone. The data is basically held up in the courts, and what that means is that if that gets thrown out, then they have to, Quebec has to start with a whole brand new long gun registry. Now, here's the thing about that. Most Quebecers are probably unaware that they still have to register the rifles. All this stuff is done behind closed doors and in secret as much as possible. Why? Because if you knew what they were doing, people would speak out, which right now there's a lot going on for the gun politics here in Canada. They're still working on the ban of the Swiss Sig 550 plus the CZ 858. There's been a 5-year amnesty, then I read 2 years, and when I called the conservative headquarters, they said they were still working on it. Now, okay, let's get into this thing. I'm going to take it apart after I read it. Namano RCMP discovers Soviet assault weapons. Routine investigation of a shed near Namano home uncovers a pair of SKS Tula semi-automatic rifles. A cache contains of 2 assault rifles, drugs, and 180,000 in reported stolen goods was uncovered by the police in the shed during the routine investigation. Must be a hell of a shed. The Namano RCMP officer made the discovery in the 200 block of Pine Street earlier this week. 2 Soviet-era SKS Tula semi-automatic assault rifles and a scooter valued over $3,000 and an estimated $15,000 worth of bicycles were hidden in the shed, along with a quantity of heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, and marijuana. Sounds like quite a party going on there. Okay, it goes on to say, police would not say what led to the find, naturally. But the discovery of 2 assault weapons in particular concerned. Never mind the methamphetamine and the heroin. Okay, anyway, back to the, containing my anger here. Okay, but the discovery of 2 Russian assault weapons in particular concern, given the potential dangers of these type of pose to public safety. The weapons are capable of rapid firing up to 10 bullets without reloading. I'll get into that. If they fall into the wrong hands. Okay, I'll get back to that one. If they fall into the wrong hands, now they've got a semi-automatic weapon, said Sergeant Shirley Armstrong of the Namano RCMP. I have no respect for the RCMP anymore. I really don't. This is an embarrassment. Or if some young child finds them and thinks they are a toy, and there's ammunition to look out. Guns capable of firing one bullet after another are often used in mass shootings. Anytime you have something capable of firing more than one bullet in rapid succession, it's a concerning, Armstrong said. You think about the massacres we've had with AK-47s. I can't think of any. I'm sorry. If you can fire off multiple shots just like that of the capability of harming more individuals than a single shot. Christopher Duncan, 43, appears in the provincial courts Thursday facing weapons and property and charged crimes. His next court date is set for April 1st. What a joke. Okay, and it just goes, okay, we want to hear from you, send comments, do blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can catch that out. NaminoDailyNews.com, 250-729-4235 if you want to give them a call. Okay, let's start with this. First off, this just shows the anti-gun agenda of the RCMP. These are not assault rifles. Again, assault rifle is really kind of a made-up term, but if we were to put a kind of scientific-based reality behind the term assault rifle, it would probably start off in Germany with the Sturmgewehr 44, which was arguably lightning rifle. We'll call it assault rifle. But at that point, what makes an assault rifle in the kind of derogatory term that is used is basically a rifle that has a select fire switch, which allows it to go full auto. You pull the trigger down, and for most of you that follow, you know what it is. But for those that are new and don't know the difference, what it is that when you pull the trigger down, every round in the magazine, not clip, but in the magazine, will fire until the magazine is completely empty, and you only have to hold the trigger down. If you let go of the trigger, it stops firing. In a semi-automatic version, you pull the trigger once, you get one bang. You pull the trigger again, you get another bang, and you can do it until, again, the magazine is empty. Okay, let's talk about the SKS. Again, these are rifles that are not illegal to buy. Now, if these so-called cache of 2 weapons, okay, maybe this guy owned them legally, maybe he didn't, who knows? Maybe he stole them, maybe he didn't. But I want to go back to the comments you said. If they were to fall into the wrong hands, okay, you just captured a ton of cocaine or heroin and methamphetamines and all kinds of drugs and stolen stuff. They are in the wrong hands. They are in the wrong hands. They're already there. The gun registry did not stop this. The whole license systems did not stop this guy from getting a hold of these legal firearms that other people can buy, providing they jump through the hoops. Okay, but that said, to pass them off as an assault rifle, well, this is just clearly, it's lying. It's plain and simple lying. Now, people are saying, I respect the RCMP, I respect police officers. I do, but when you have these people making these kind of public statements, the thing that scares me about this is that these are the people that really start to mold the agenda behind these gun grabs and stuff like that. Because to me, if she is thinking in that way, okay, that's fine and dandy, but when you are a political figure and you're making these, making false statements, just to, scaremonger the public into not liking firearms. Well, it's quite simple that the only reason why they would bring up something like this is because that's what they plan to go after next. Meaning, yes, the SKS will be brought into question. Now, why would the SKS be brought into question by the RCMP? It's very simple. It's the most numerous semi-automatic rifle probably on the planet, next to probably the AK-47. There's a lot of them out there. I know somebody will probably bounce me the actual statistics, but there's a lot of countries use them. It's kind of like this. You'll get the question, I got like next to no money. I've only got like 53 cents in my pocket. I want to buy a semi-automatic. What can I buy? SKS. That's your answer. Hey, we're a broke country. We need to build a really, really cheap army. What do we buy? SKS. I want to build a kitchen table. What do we use? Wood. I don't have a hammer. Use an SKS. There you go. And that's what this rifle is. It is a and there's going to be a lot of guys shaking their head yes on this one. A lot of guys buy it simply due to the fact that it is so cheap to shoot. It's between anywhere, I've seen them as low as $60. They don't stay on the shelf long for that, and as high as $300 for like a premium one. And if you're willing to kind of waste a little more money on some accessories, you maybe about $600 into the thing. We'll give you like the ultimate SKS. I've shot them. Okay, it's if you've got a little more money, I recommend buying something a little bit more powerful, a little more accurate, a little more this, that, and the other thing. But as a rifle, they're just a regular rifle, about a little bit less than the hit and power of that of a 30-30. Almost, I would say, just actually a little bit less than maybe a 32. I've did a comparison shoot with a 32 and an SKS, and the 32 is a little bit underpowered as that is, which is a little bit less than the 30-30. It actually, the SKS was even just a little bit less than that, a little bit less punch than that. But for an infantry rifle, no problem. For a target rifle, phenomenal. Why? Because, I think you get like a free 1,000 rounds of ammo for every, one cup of coffee at Tim Hortons you can buy, for the same price. It's just cheap to shoot. And that's why people like them. That's why there's so many. And there's probably tens of thousands of these rifles in Canada. So with the CZ858 on the chopping block, with the Swiss SIG 550 on the chopping block, when they go after these things, even though they may be cheaper than the other rifles that they're going after, the cost, of non-compensation to the people, we're talking probably $1 billion worth of rifles. Probably pretty close. Like as cheap as they are, at least tens of millions anyway, because there's a lot of them out there. And the problem is again, you see the demonization from the RCMP, the anti-gun. They're not paid to be political at all. They're paid to just enforce the laws that the people want enforced. But yet you have all these RCMP officers, and notice how they just said they really picked on that. They can clearly identify the model of firearm now. Most of the time you get, they found assault rifles, or they found semi-automatic rifles. They found, when it's not a political issue. But when it's a political issue, they have to bring up that it's an assault rifle and then put the name, because they need to demonize. You have to understand, if you're an American watching this, the SKS is to Canada like the AR-15 is to the United States. This is our demon gun, because we don't have AK-47s here legally, because they're already prohibited. At one time, before Bill C-68, you could own a semi-automatic AK-47, which technically an SKS is like the difference between an AK-47 and an SKS is like the difference between kind of technically like an M1 Grand versus an M14. So similar in so many ways. It's just the AK-47 had the droppable magazine. But you have to understand, the SKS, the way it came into be was basically they needed a semi-automatic. It was originally supposed to shoot the 7.62 by 54, and then they realized it was just a little bit too uncontrollable in that short carbine length. I mean, these things are really light. They're like a 6.5 pound rifle. They're very, very light. So you have too much recoil there, this thing's going to just shoot all over the place, right? So they chopped it down to the 7.62 by 39, which then became the infamous AK-47 round. Now, the SKS had a very kind of short life as a infantry rifle with Russians, so to speak. I mean, they used it in a lot of places because they weren't going to waste them, right? But it really quickly got adopted, the AK-47, to replace it, because, it had it was a little bit better of a carbine, shot the same caliber. You could change magazines. The droppable magazines was what really ousted the SKS. However, a lot of other guys used them for a while, and then of course they showed up everywhere around the world. They showed up in Vietnam. They showed up in North Korea. They showed up everywhere, and then a lot of recreation shooters have bought them. And now we have the RCMP once again trying to demonize this, to build up the justification for getting rid of these firearms. They might not have said that now. And yes, this is a statement from one officer and stuff like that, but you can see how that mentality is prevalent through the entire RCMP. Top brass. They're all basically on this anti-gun agenda. They're bureaucrats and technocrats and stuff like that. So what we have to do is, again, call our MPs and MLAs. Like right now is not the time to give up on calling your MPs and MLAs. Right now is when you need to put the pressure on, while they already have that debate going on the the other rifles that were basically in question for banning by the RCMP reclassification, because they will reclassify these rifles as prohibited. Make no mistake. Yes, they don't have pistol grips and stuff like that, but if they're going to go after an SKS, they're going to go after everything. And this is just a stepping stone. They haven't, and I've been hearing rumors, and I just haven't seen the FRT numbers. Maybe all the FRT numbers have been put on hold because it's tied up in Ottawa right now, but I was hearing that they were going to go after, I guess that would include the Norenko M14s, every semi-automatic, anything military style. They're going after anything military style. That would probably even include Mausers, Mosins, and British Lee Enfields. I bet you they would go after those too, because they're military style. You see, because they're afraid of the looks of them. Not the functionality is no different. Now this lady says, okay, if kids found them and stuff. Now, I grew up in a household long before we had to lock firearms up, and it wasn't a problem for most people. I mean, there was never, ever in Canada a major gun problem or even major gun accident problems. Locking them up, yes, has kind of lowered the suicide rate by firearm, but the accidents are still about the same. You talked about 50 people average on every year. And it's usually not in the household, it's usually somewhere else. The odd kid, yes, does find a firearm and gets hurt or killed in Canada very, very rarely. If you were to compare it to drownings, I mean, we're talking 3,000 to 3,600 people a year that drown in swimming pools, yet nobody wants to ban them. You know what I mean? Look at, from the making of this video, the South by Southwest convention that was going on in Texas there, or somewhere around there, a couple of days ago. Some guy ran over, I don't know how many people in the car, and killed quite a few of them. But we're not talking about banning cars now, are we? So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. So do call your MPs and MLAs. Change is happening. We need to keep the pressure on them. We need to really let them know that yes, gun owners do vote, and we got to stop this nonsense of demonizing inanimate objects for the sake of some who knows politically correct. Nothing based in fact or reality. And the fact that they refer to this, they are not the experts. In fact, if they're referring to this as an assault rifle, to me that means they are incompetent. And that person should lose their job, because if they're making judgment calls without knowing the difference, that could get somebody killed. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's just, the stupidity is just mind-boggling. Anyway, now I'm ranting, so rate, subscribe, share, comment, like, and call your MPs. Okay, hi and welcome. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to have to talk about the SKS a little bit first. But again, the RCMP never ceases to amaze me on some of the stuff they come up with. Oh boy, and yeah, they will be bringing in the AK-47 in on this one a little bit. Okay, so the SKS is a non-restricted firearm here in Canada, meaning with a regular firearm safety course and a possession acquisition license and a background check, you can buy one of these things as a non-restricted rifle in Canada. Now, however, over here in Quebec, a buddy of mine bought one, and he got a letter in the mail from the Sauté de Quebec on behalf of the RCMP saying that you couldn't hunt with it because the action was too fast. I saw the letter. I'm in disbelief of it, but this is the kind of mentality that you get with these people. Now, in Namano, British Columbia, this comes out of the, I read it the other day, Namano Daily News, okay? Now, Namano RCMP discovers Soviet assault weapons. Here we go. And before I read this, I don't know what video I said it in. It was a good while ago, and I said, look, they're going to be coming after every single type of rifle that's they're going for a total gun ban is what it's incremental. We've seen it in Australia, we've seen it in the UK, we've seen, even though they can own some firearms over there, the list is getting smaller and smaller. This is a long-term plan. This isn't ban overnight. However, with the RCMP, it is kind of a bit of a ban overnight, because they're under the crunch of having the long gun registry, which was supposed to be gone, which is not gone. The data is basically held up in the courts, and what that means is that if that gets thrown out, then they have to, Quebec has to start with a whole brand new long gun registry. Now, here's the thing about that. Most Quebecers are probably unaware that they still have to register the rifles. All this stuff is done behind closed doors and in secret as much as possible. Why? Because if you knew what they were doing, people would speak out, which right now there's a lot going on for the gun politics here in Canada. They're still working on the ban of the Swiss SIG 550 plus the CZ 858. There's been a 5-year amnesty, then I read 2 years. And when I called the conservative headquarters. They said they were still working on it. Now, okay, let's get into this thing. I'm going to take it apart after I read it. Nanaimo RCMP discovers Soviet assault weapons. Routine investigation of a shed near Nanaimo home uncovers a pair of SKS Tula semi-automatic rifles. Okay, yeah. And, okay,